The surrender of Donbas is not the end of the war. It's the beginning of a new, even bloodier catastrophe. While new peace maps are being drawn up in Trump's offices, leading analysts are sounding the alarm. Any attempt to appease the aggressor with territory will turn Ukraine into a powder keg that will explode in just a few years. Why is Trump's plan being called a death sentence for Europe? And what shocking consequences does diplomacy hide behind the scenes? Now we will tell you everything. Well, there is much more information in our story. My name is Yevgeny Syrov. This is the Glavred channel. Subscribe and like. Let's start. In recent days, the so-called peace plan of the Trump administration has been actively discussed in the information space. Its key point is freezing the conflict along the front line, which in fact means leaving the occupied territories of Donbas and Crimea under Russian control. However, analysts whose conclusions are cited by Union warn such a scenario is a classic trap. History has already seen something similar in 2014 and 2015 with the Minsk agreements. The main risk lies in the fact that Russia does not see these territories as its ultimate goal. For the Kremlin, Donbas is just a springboard. If Ukraine agrees to relinquish control over these lands in exchange for a highly unstable and fragile ceasefire, we will not achieve a lasting peace, but merely an operational pause. Russia will certainly use this time to rebuild its military strength, learn from the many mistakes of the first years of the full-scale invasion, and strike again. But next time, it will be an attack not on an already weary and exhausted military force, but on a country whose entire society will feel deeply betrayed. The second factor being ignored in Washington is the internal reaction of Ukrainians. The surrender of Donbas could provoke the most powerful political crisis in the history of modern Ukraine. We need to understand, hundreds of thousands of people have been through the front lines, and millions have lost their homes, specifically in the east. A concession of territory without real ironclad security guarantees, such as NATO membership, will be perceived as capitulation. This is a direct path to civil confrontation and destabilization, which is exactly what Putin is counting on. Experts emphasize peace at the expense of territory will not stop the war, but will move it from the battlefields to the streets of Ukrainian cities. Moreover, this will send a signal to other dictators around the world. Borders can be changed by force if you are patient and ruthless enough. Trump's plan in this form essentially legitimizes the rule of force over the rule of law. Analysts emphasize Russia has already shifted its economy onto a war footing. Stopping the war on Putin's terms will allow him to keep sanctions pressure at an acceptable level while simultaneously rebuilding his missile arsenal. While Europe relaxes in the illusion of peace, Moscow will be preparing to strike at the Suwalki Corridor or the Baltic countries. Thus, Trump's peace on the terms of surrendering Donbas does not look like a solution to the problem, but rather a postponement of an even greater explosion. A true and lasting peace is only possible when the aggressor is deprived of the ability to attack again. Do they understand this in the White House? Or has Trump's business approach blinded his strategic vision? Share your thoughts in the comments.